Good evening. Henry here. Actually, my friends call me Harry. Harry and Rollo here for you, and like to welcome you here this evening to an exciting time. Welcome to Winterfest, sponsored by Discover Doylestown. We have an exciting and interesting season this year. Because of COVID, we're going to be doing a few things a little differently. But look out for every Tuesday and Thursday evening, as we're going to have special guests read stories to you online. And on Wednesdays, we're going to have the good old jolly Saint Nick, well, get those letters written up, because he's going to read your letters online from you for everybody else to hear. So please, join us with this exciting time of year, coming out, discovering Doylestown, having a wonderful time. And remember, if you go shopping, keep an eye out for our jolly friend Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman. But when you're out and you're shopping, don't forget to wear your mask.
She has 3 presents. He grabbed the nutcracker from Marie and tossed him in the air.
All of the other reindeer. Olive was too shy to sing.
I wonder what will happen. The elves arrived to help.
You never go out, and this is such a fine opportunity. I had great trouble to get it. Everyone wants to go. It is very
Santa
select.
circled once above us and then disappeared into the cold, dark, polar
On
sky.
Christmas Eve, we get out the ornaments. Some were Grandpa's when he was a little boy.
This is not a house. Well, I know. It's a castle. Fonthill Castle.
On. Here arose such a clatter. I sprung from the bed to see what was the matter.
Good evening. I'd like to share one of my favorite books with you about Christmas. It's Christmas Day in the Morning by one of my favorite authors, Pearl Buck. Pearl Buck lived not so far from here, and her home and her farm still stands there today. And this is a story that she wrote about a wonderful Christmas gift. Christmas Day in the Morning. He waked suddenly and completely. It was 4 o'clock, the hour at which his father had always called him to get up and help with the milking. Strange how the habits of his youth clung to him still. 50 years ago, and his father had been dead for 30 years, and yet he waked at 4 o'clock in the morning. He had trained himself to turn over and go to sleep, but this morning, because it was Christmas, he did not try to go to sleep. He slipped back in time, as he did so easily nowadays. He was 15 years old and still on his father's farm. He loved his father. He had not known it until one day, a few days before Christmas, when he overheard what his father was saying to his mother. "Mary, I hate to call Rob in the mornings. He's growing so fast and he needs his sleep. If you could see how he sleeps when I go in and wake him up, I wish I could manage alone." "Well, you can't, Adam." His mother's voice was brisk. "Besides, he isn't a child anymore. It's time he took his turn." "Yes," his father said slowly, "but I sure do hate to wake him." When he heard these words, something in him woke. His father loved him. He had never thought of it before, taking for granted the tie of their blood. Neither his father nor his mother talked about loving their children. They had no time for such things. There was always so much to do on the farm. Now that he knew his father loved him, there would be no more loitering in the mornings and having to be called again and again. He got up after that, stumbling with sleep, and pulled on his clothes, his eyes tight shut. But he got up, and then on the night before Christmas, that year when he was 15, he lay for a few minutes thinking about the next day. They were poor, and most of the excitement was in the turkey they had raised themselves, and in the mince pies his mother had made. His sisters sewed presents, and his mother and father always bought something he needed. Not only just a warm jacket, maybe, but something more, such as a book. And he saved and bought them each something too. He wished the Christmas he had to get a better present for his father. As usual, he had gone to the 10-cent store and bought a tie. It had seemed nice enough until he lay thinking the night before Christmas. And then he wished he had heard his father and mother talking in time for him to save for something better. He lay on his side, his head supported by his elbow, and looked out of his attic window. The stars were bright, much brighter than he ever remembered seeing them, and one was so bright he wondered if it were really the Star of Bethlehem. "Dad," he had once asked when he was a little boy, "what is a stable?" "It's just a barn," his father had replied, "like ours." Then Jesus had been born in a barn, and to a barn the shepherds and the wise men had come, bringing their gifts. The thought stuck him like a silver dagger. Why should he not give his father a special gift too, out there in the barn? He could get up early, earlier than 4 o'clock. He could creep into the barn and get all the milking done. He'd do it alone. Milk and clean up, and then when his father went in to start the milking, he'd see it all done, and he would know who had done it. At 2:45, he got up and put on his clothes. He crept downstairs, careful of the creaky boards, and let himself out. The big star hung lower over the barn roof, a reddish gold. The cows looked at him, sleepy and surprised. "So, boss," he whispered. They accepted him placidly, and he fetched some hay for each cow. He got the milking pail and the big milk cans. He had never milked all alone before, but it seemed almost easy. He kept thinking about his father's surprise. He would come in and call him, saying that he would get things started while Rob was getting dressed. He'd go to the barn, open the door, and then he'd go to get the 2 big empty milk cans. But they wouldn't be waiting or empty. They'd be standing in the milk house, filled. The task went more easily than he had ever known it to before. Milking for once was not a chore. It was something else. It was a gift to his father who loved him. He finished. The 2 milk cans were full, and he covered them and closed the milk house door carefully, making sure of the latch. He put the stool in its place by the door and hung up the clean milk pail. Then he went out of the barn and barred the door behind him. Back in his room, he only had a minute to pull off his clothes in the darkness and jump into bed, for he heard his father up. He put the covers over his head to silence his quick breathing. The door opened. "Rob," his father called. "We have to get up, son, even if it is Christmas." "All right," he said sleepily. "I'll go on out," his father said. "I'll get things started." The door closed and he lay still, laughing to himself. In just a few minutes his father would know. His dancing heart was ready to jump from his body. The minutes were endless, 10, 15, he did not know how many, and he heard his father's footsteps again. The door opened and he lay still. "Rob." "Yes, Dad." His father was laughing, a queer sobbing sort of laugh. "Thought you'd fool me, did you?" His father was standing beside his bed, feeling for him and pulling away the cover. "It's Christmas, Dad." He found his father and clutched him in a great hug. He felt his father's arms go around him. It was dark, and they could not see each other's faces. "Son, I thank you. Nobody ever did a nicer thing." "Oh, Dad, I want you to know. I do want to be good." The words broke from him of their own will. He did not know what to say. His heart was bursting with love. "Well, I reckon I can go back to bed and sleep," his father said after a moment. "No, hark. The little ones are waked up. Come to think of it, son, I've never seen you children when you first saw the Christmas tree. I was always in the barn. Come on." He got up and pulled on his clothes again, and they went down to the Christmas tree, and soon the sun was creeping up to where the star had been. Oh, what a Christmas, and how his heart had nearly burst again with shyness and pride as his father told his mother and made his younger children listen about how he, Rob, had got up all by himself. "The best Christmas gift I ever had, and I'll remember it, son, every year on Christmas morning for as long as I live." They had both remembered it, and now that his father was dead, he remembered it alone. That blessed Christmas dawn, when alone with the crows and cows in the barn, he had made his first true gift of love.
Good evening. I'm going to read you one of my favorite and special stories about my one and only favorite dog, Rollo. This is a book called Follow Rollo, a romp through Fonthill Castle. Wow, this is not a house. Well, I know, it's a castle, Fonthill Castle. We will go in that door in a minute. First, I want to tell you about this other door. It's a door to the farmhouse. Mr. Mercer bought a farmhouse. I did. He really wanted to have a house made of concrete. He hired some men to help him. They mixed the concrete. They covered the floors, walls, ceiling, and stairs of the farmhouse with concrete, inside and out. It worked. So they added rooms to the sides of the farmhouse. They hired a horse named Lucy. She wore a harness with ropes attached, and she walked forward and went up the buckets of concrete higher and higher. It wasn't a farmhouse anymore. It became a castle, 7 stories high, over 44 rooms. Can you still see the farmhouse in this picture? Well, follow me. Oh, good! Mr. Mercer is here to open up the door for us, and he knows I like to go into the kitchen first. Here's our big stove. Wood and coal burns in this cast iron stove. Turkey soups, cookies, and cakes are cooked here. Some on top and some in the oven. I'm sniffing for a treat. No luck today. The kitchen gets too hot when the stove is cooking. So Mr. Mercer and helpers took down the ceiling. But he liked the fireplace that was in the room above so much that he left it for show. The kitchen is cooler without the ceiling. Follow me. The cook just answered the phone on the wall. Mr. Mercer would like some snacks, please. The cook puts some fruit, treats, and milk on a tray. She places the tray on the open box there. It's called a dumbwaiter. The cook will pull on the rope attached to the dumbwaiter, and up go the snacks. A piece drops on the floor for me. Yum. Okay, Rollo. Rollo is running. Wait. Rollo, which way did you go? Oh, there's his tail. Follow Rollo. Oh, here's the library. Mr. Mercer loves to read. He has many books all over his house. Most are in his library. He even has an upstairs in his library. Light for reading comes through the window, and sometimes Mr. Mercer sits in the chair by the window, and I curl up on the floor by his feet. Sometimes Mr. Mercer sits on the couch to read. I like to climb up and sit beside him there. Now look at those stairs. They go up to 2 different directions. We'll look for other stairs that go up in different directions too. Well, come, follow me. You have to see this strange closet. It's not for clothes or shoes. It's for keys. There are 66 cubbies, and each one is marked. Each key has its own cubby. There are 66 different keys for 66 different doors in the castle. Each door gets locked with one of the keys. Do you know what happens when this big door is closed? It gets locked too. Now this is a special door. It does not get locked, but it has something to do with the kitchen and snacks. Do you remember? This is where the dumbwaiter stops. Mr. Mercer opens the door and takes the tray out with food in it and goes to whichever room he wants. And when he's finished, he puts the tray back in on the dumbwaiter and he pulls on the ropes and it goes down to the kitchen. Now let's take a set of stairs to one of Mr. Mercer's bedrooms. The castle has 14 bedrooms. Mr. Mercer sleeps in this bedroom. He has a bed like you have, but our bedrooms have big arches and beautiful tiles on them. These arches support the ceilings. Well, concrete is very heavy. Your bedroom does not need arches. Well, the sink is in the bedroom. Beside the sink is a doorway to the bathroom. And there are 12 bathrooms in the castle. Taking a bath is not my favorite thing to do. I like looking out the windows. I hope to see some squirrels to chase. Now look out the window. Nothing has changed in over 100 years. There are still big trees and fields. We have light bulbs in our castle. They are kind of new. Not everyone has them. We have one in each room. Mr. Mercer pulls the chain and the lights come on and makes the place no longer dark. It is really special. The map room. Oh yes. In here are full of books with maps in them from everywhere. Do you see the one light bulb for reading the maps? Mr. Mercer has lots of windows for lights too. On to the Columbus room. I share this room with Mr. Mercer. He made lots of tiles about Christopher Columbus. Well, the tiles are very special because they tell the story of Christopher Columbus sailing to the New World. But wait till you see the trouble I got into. When this room was built, I was curious. There was the new stairs going. Well, where were they going? So I ran up the stairs to see. Well, the workmen had just finished the room. The concrete had not dried yet. Whoops! My footprints were big. Oh no! Did Mr. Mercer get angry? I hope he doesn't. He ended up putting my name on the stairs. Rollo Stairs. There is a door on my stairs. I'm anxious to open that door and take you up the winding, winding stairs. Come along. Follow Rollo. When we open this door, we come out onto the terrace. There are 7 floors high. We can see everything. We are higher than the trees. The spring house looks small from up here. What a busy roof with skylights and chimneys. Be careful. Follow Rollo downstairs now. We will go outside. Stairs take us up, stairs take us down. Sets of stairs alike cannot be found. Here in the spring house that looked so small from the roof. This really is a cool place. Water runs under here. The water keeps the concrete shelves inside cool all the time. Some food keeps better in a cool place. Do you have a cool place in your house for food? This is Mercer's garage, made from the old barn that came with the old farmhouse. Mr. Mercer made the room above where he often sits to design his tiles. He does not have a horse or carriage. He does not have a car. He does not drive. His friends drive him on trips. He does walk into Doylestown sometimes. Do you know how he gets around most of the time? He has a bicycle, and he rides it everywhere. He rides it to our new building almost every day. I run beside him. I see Lucy, the horse, helping the workmen mixing concrete. The new building is a castle too, with many floors and rooms for Mr. Mercer's treasures. Mr. Mercer started collecting special treasures when he was a boy and never stopped. His collection is huge. He made a place for most everything. The castle is named Mercer Museum. Maybe I'll see you there one day. Thanks for coming. I love showing you around my house, Fonthill Castle. come again and again and again.
Drop off your letters to Santa at Discover Doylestown's office, Klaus Harlan Real Estate, or at the Doylestown Bookshop. Santa is going to read your letters live from the North Pole each Wednesday on Discover Doylestown's Facebook.